tremendously powerful evidence that God is at work in these people's lives.
It is statistically the case that the more hopeless your life becomes, the higher the probability you have of turning to a religion. And also, if you're having a crisis of meaning in your life for whatever reason, I looked at some of the data and it does show that
that's absolutely right. And that's what you'd expect if it's true, at least to a certain extent. It gives people something outside themselves. That's simple psychology, I would have thought.
Simple psychology.
But it doesn't prove the truth or falsehood.
It doesn't prove the truth, because what if I believe in the dragon at the bottom of the garden or the spaghetti monster?
Leprechauns if you're Irish.
And it seems to be the case that really irrespective of which religion fills that place in your life, you still get the same boost in meaning post starting to believe.
Well, I'm not convinced of that, you see, because I'm sitting here as a Christian and I've reason for being a Christian because I don't find this need met in those practitioners of other religions. I don't find that sense of fulfillment and peace that comes through the forgiveness in Christ. Now, when I say that, I need to guard that very carefully, because one of the troubles and you will probably have realized this in talking about different religions, is that once you begin to criticize a religion, people rightly think you're looking down at them. And so I clear the ground completely by saying that a pagan or a person in any religion could put me to shame by their moral behavior in raising questions about what is taught by a particular religion. I'm not criticizing your moral stance. And C.S. Lewis helped me greatly there. He wrote a book in the 1940s where he tackled, I think, 40 different religions and philosophies, and in every one of them he found the golden rule: do unto others what you would. And he points out that this is morally hardwired into your system, so that when I'm talking to people of other faiths and ask these questions, I'm very careful to say that at the beginning. But we've got to face the fact that there are differences. My Jewish friends believe that Jesus died and did not rise. My Muslim friends believed he didn't die. I believe he both died and rose. Those three things cannot be simultaneously true.
But when I look at the stats here, data shows that devout Muslims and a devout Hindu get the exact same psychological meaning boost and sense of peace as a devout Christian.
Well, how do you measure that?
Well, they ask them, is your life more meaningful? And sometimes I've got one particular friend who's part of his, evidence that what he believes is true is the feeling he got when he started believing it.
Yeah, well,
but the data suggests
that if it is true, a positive feeling would reinforce that, of course, but it doesn't prove it in the end. But then your criteria for yourself of what you accept will be different from that person. So you have to proceed on the basis like Thomas of old. He wouldn't accept what the other guys said. He said, I need the evidence for myself, and you need the evidence for yourself.
I guess
evidence of the kind that's going to give you a settled peace and confidence in what you believe. I can understand that perfectly.
Then I was thinking that there's fiction movies I've watched that made me feel really good.
Yes, sure.
Afterwards. And they made me feel like more motivated and connected to the universe.
Yes, of course.
Steve, what are you doing?
Just making myself a delicious coffee.
From the freezer?
From the freezer. Have you not heard about Comtier?
No.
Oh my gosh. This is going to change your life. I invested in this company called Comtier last year, and they're now one of the sponsors of this podcast because they've taken a pretty revolutionary approach to making coffee. Every coffee is precision brewed at 10 times the strength, and then they flash freeze it with liquid nitrogen to lock in the flavor and freshness, and then it's delivered to you on dry ice in these recyclable aluminium capsules, still frozen, like a little ice cube. All you have to do is pop the capsule out, add some hot water, and then you stir it and you are good to go. You can also make delicious iced coffee drinks as well. Just pour it in, stir it up. And for anyone that hasn't tried it, you can get $30 off your first order of Comtier coffee if you go to comtier.com/Stephen. I've done almost 700 interviews with some of the most interesting people in the world. And one of the things you learn, which is unexpected, is that vulnerability is the doorway to connection. And after sitting here for 2-3 hours with a guest, I feel a deep sense of connection to them. And as they leave, what I get them to do is to write a question in the diary of a CEO. We've taken all of the questions from the diary of a CEO. We have put the question here on this card with the name of the person that wrote it. So you can sit at home, as I do with my fiance and my colleagues at work and other people in my life. Whenever we get a minute, we play the Diary of a CEO conversation cards. And it is incredible what happens. These are great if you're in a romantic relationship and you want to connect your partner more. These are also great if you're in a team and you want to bond your team together. And I have to say, they're also great for families that want to learn more about each other and that need a good excuse to spend some time in a digital world, in the analog environment, connecting human to human. It is remarkable what the right question at the right time can do. Go to thediary.com and you can get these conversation cards right now. So going back to this question I asked about good people, living a good life, it seems to be the case that the Bible suggests that if you don't believe in God, even if you lived a good life, you go to hell. And hell is described as not a nice place. So I was thinking about the most kind person I know that's lived her life to be unbelievable, passed away. She didn't believe. Does that mean she's in hell?
Well, you can't answer that. Let me just say something here, that what Scripture reveals is a very interesting thing, that the only people to whom Jesus talked about hell were religious bigots who were in danger of it. He didn't talk about it to ordinary folks who were struggling with believing and trusting God and all the rest. That's point number one.
What are you implying there, sorry?
Well, what I'm implying there is that we paint hell as something ogre-like, God stuffing and demon stuffing bodies into hell, when actually I think Lewis got it right here, when he talks about this, that hell is absence of God and it's chosen. If a person doesn't want God in their life, and I've known people like that, and they choose it, God will give them what they chose. Otherwise, God is going to have to force his way into their lives and they don't want him. And here is the amazing thing, to my mind, about Jesus and his attitude. He would go places, he would heal people, he would bring peace into their lives and all the rest of it. But when folk saw what he did and said, "Go, leave us alone," he went. He didn't force his way into their lives. And it seems to me that the one example in the New Testament of a person who did not live a good life and neglected the poor around him and ended in that place, there is no evidence that he wanted out of it. What he said was, "Please send Abram to my brothers that they don't come to this place." There's no indication that he wanted out of it. And I think this is a grim reality here, that when we use these words, we need to be immensely careful. You can choose not to have God, and God will honor that choice. And that is hell.
One of the things that I grew up believing because of the Bible was that if you repented,
yes,
which is, to ask forgiveness, admit your sins, etc.,
yes,
acknowledge God, believe, then your sins would be forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone was a serial killer for their whole life and then repented at the end of their life, would they be forgiven and allowed into heaven? I guess this kind of links to the question I just asked, which is if someone was a doctor for their whole life curing childhood cancer, but they didn't believe, they would theoretically be going to this place described as hell.
Yeah. We can argue about cases like that all the time. Neither of us is God. And the way God deals with these people. After all, next to Christ on the cross were two thieves. Well, they were terrorists, actually. They'd both murdered, apparently. And one of them railed against Jesus and shouted and all this kind of thing. And the other simply said to him, "I deserve to be here. Remember me when you come into your kingdom." And then Jesus turned to him on the cross and said, "Today you will be with me in paradise."
So he's forgiven a murderer?
Yes. He, in that sense, yes. And the Apostle Paul, was a murderer. There are deep mysteries here. It's just amazing. I never forget looking through the door of a Russian security death row. I'd never been in a death row before, and the stink, it was just like a nightmare. And because I was the only one of the Brits who could speak Russian, I went up to the door, and a chap came over and looked at me, gaunt and all this, and he was just awaiting execution. And what he said to me was this. He said, I deserve to be here. He killed 12 women or something. I can't remember which. And then his face just burst into what I can only describe as a ghastly smile. And he said, I met Jesus here and he forgave me. And you go away with a very burdened heart, I think. And he said, my colleague lying over there is the same. What do you make of it? I don't think we're going to find out.
I don't know. I feel like I'm wired to try and have to solve these fucking problems, these big questions. I have to figure them out, or they'll just sit there causing increasingly more confusion, which pops me right on that agnostic fence.
Yes, I would encourage you to concentrate on the one that you think is most important, one at a time. And I don't know, because I've only met you. I think what you're doing by talking to people from different backgrounds and so on, I'd love to be able to say, here's where you must look, but each one of us is so complex. And what will answer the question for you might not answer it for the person sitting next to you.
Mm-hmm.
But don't stop exploring, I would say. But I don't think you will.
No, I won't. That's for sure. Because I find the curious pursuit of truth in and of itself a rewarding pursuit, irrespective of whether I ever find the answers.
That's the key. A speech that made a deep impression on me was given by Alexander Solzhenitsyn when he was pushed out of the Soviet Union. Do not compromise in the least with lies. Live not by lies. I think our generation needs to hear that, because one of the great and tragic capacities of AI is the spread of lies, deep fakes, all the rest of it. I've been subject to it myself in the last month.
When you think about the impact that AI is going to have on human purpose, we talk a lot about job losses and
yes,
white collar workers, entry level roles, and then really like everything else. If you have a long enough time horizon, it's conceivable that many of the roles we all do today, including maybe even as a podcaster. I think Spotify announced this month that you're going to be able to generate your own podcasts with AI. What is the high level sort of philosophical point we need to understand about meaning and how to live a good life in a world where some of us might lose our jobs and have to contend with change in a way that we've not experienced before?
I think we just have to, I have children, grandchildren, all the rest of it. And one of my sons is beginning to ask questions. Dad, AI looks as if it's going to replace my job. Well, he's tech savvy and he will rise to it, I suspect. But all industrial revolutions did this, but this is going to do it on a scale never before seen. And the tragedy is, I was talking about this in South Africa, and they said it's all very well to tell us to reskill people, but if you don't have the educational infrastructure to do that, you'll just force a much bigger divide between the rich and the poor. And they're really worried about it. I think the important thing, which is why I wrote my books, is to inform and get people thinking and get them talking.
What is the conversation you want them to be talking about?
I think it's a very wide-ranging conversation. There are existential things for people. They're afraid.
Should they be?
Well, they should be afraid of some things. I think the creeping advance of totalitarianism is something that could engulf us all. If we're not very careful, it's creeping, and is being rolled out in parts of the world, particularly China. But not only. I read a very interesting report by a Chinese watcher saying, beware you in the West, because the only difference between us and you is you've got all the technology, but not yet a central government imposing it. Not yet. beware. And I think we have to beware because we are sleepwalking into this. Sir Anthony Seldon, I don't know whether you've come across him. He's an educationist very highly regarded by various governments, has written a book about AI and its effect in education. And, of course, it's having a devastating effect. As you know, what is an essay? Everybody's using AI, and it's hard to recognize whether it's AI or not now. So that we're into a whole new world, or coming rapidly into it. How do we know what is true and what isn't? A few weeks ago, I was contacted, could a publisher produce a transcript of a recent lecture I'd given because they liked it so much? Never heard of it. I looked it up, discovered a website describing itself as Linux Logic, and it was a picture of me, but it was deep-faked all the way through, and AI-generated material that I would never have said, all politicized and everything else.
Is it conceivable that maybe, so much of this technology has promised that it would make us more human, and so much of it failed? It made us more isolated and lonely.
Oh, yes.
Is it conceivable that if a technology comes along like AI, it will render us useful for the things that humans are uniquely positioned to do? As in, being with each other in the real world and relationships. And is it conceivable that maybe we were never meant to sit in front of screens tapping buttons? And
I think that's absolutely true. It's already exercising many people's minds in that direction.
And could that be a better life?
Well, how would I judge that?
I guess one way, it's a good point. I was thinking about this. I was thinking, is this like the moment where we kind of regress back to how we used to live, our true, maybe human nature? Is that what happens here, where, I don't know, we spend more time with each other in the real world, and because that's what, that's very human. And my Maslowian needs of connection and touch and... Well, you can demonstrate that. Look at these groups of parents who have said to their kids, look, we're going away into the country for a week and we're taking your smartphones away. And they grumble and say, no, no, no. And they come back after the week, having rediscovered nature. They don't want to use their smartphones very much. Totally transformed by touch and taste and feeling. You see, AI is a machine. It doesn't have any of our five senses, which are all connected with our consciousness. It doesn't see. It doesn't hear. It doesn't taste. When you say it doesn't
touch. When you say it doesn't smell.
It doesn't see.
Oh, it can be programmed to recognize patterns, but it has no awareness of what the process of seeing is.
Does it need it?
Well, that's not the point. What I'm saying is it's distinctively human that we understand what seeing is. We know what seeing red is.
Do we?
The machine, yes, I think we do. I mean, we can philosophize all around it, but it's a conscious experience. And consciousness, from a scientific perspective, is called the hard problem. No one knows what it is.
We don't understand it.
Yes, you can't replicate it.
So how do we know if AI is conscious? If the output is the same, i.e. I can point an AI at this and say, what is it? And the AI will say it's a mug. And I can get a human to walk in here and say, what is that? And they'll go, a mug. Now the output is the same.
Yes, but the understanding is not there.
And why is that critical?
Well, because there's a huge difference in being a machine and responding to a program created by others and being aware of what you're doing consciously. That's a totally higher level of being.
I agree. But why does that matter in this context?
Well,
another way of asking this question is actually visualized by what I have in front of me here, because one of the big debates around AI is it creative?
Yes, I know.
So here we have a picture done by a human.
Yes.
Here, which is, a picture of a family and a dog. And then we have another picture here, which is done by AI.
Yes.
And we have another picture here, which is done by a different AI.
Yes.
Now, there's a debate that AI can't be creative. Now, can AI be creative?
Well, if you call what's in front of you as creative, then it can be. But it now comes down to the very big question of what you actually mean by creative.
Yeah.
You see, it can create things. It can put things together that haven't been in that form before. But it's not aware of doing it. It doesn't know that those are children because it doesn't know.
But if I ask it, what is that? It would say a child.
Yes, but it doesn't know like we know.
And it goes back to the same question, which is like what the process. Why does the process matter if the output is identical?
Well, let me just say that view is exactly the view that Alan Turing took at the beginning. And if you look at what's often referred to as the AI Bible, Peter Norvig and his colleagues, he said, look, we are not trying to create a conscious machine. We wouldn't even know what that meant.
Yeah.
We are happy with the imitation game. And that's good enough for us. We're not trying to do it. But you see, the conscious side involves all that appreciation of life and nature and beauty and so on that we can see some meaning in. But also there's another thing. There's a consciousness of other people. And there's God consciousness. I don't think AI is anywhere near that. Machines, there are certain things they cannot do, even potentially, that the human mind can do. So there's no way a machine is ever going to be able to simulate a human mind completely. But that's difficult. That's difficult mathematics and all the rest of it, and it's highly controversial.
Why is it an important conversation to have that it is conscious or not conscious when
because
the output is the
yes,
same?
I can see the question. But if you want to live in a reductive universe, which ends up being meaningless, well, then you can go that way. There's nothing to stop you. But it seems to me there are enough indicators within nature, within science, within our human experience that tell us there's a bigger world. And this is the right and left brain stuff. We're back to McGilchrist again. His stuff in AI is very strong. He thinks it's really dangerous because it's ruining all this side of the brain and the richness of human experience, and it's in danger of destroying it. And he actually invites people to come and fight with him.
So in such a world, what is it that makes humans, what is it that makes us special? Is it that those human things we talked about, relational?
Oh, I think so. Yes, absolutely. And the fact that you and I can have a conversation like this.
You could have this conversation with AI.
Not in the same way. AI is pretty thin still. You can have a conversation of sorts. But remember, who's responsible for its capacity? Humans. It's something made in the image of humans, and that's a dangerous thing. I'd prefer to remain with something made in the image of God.
It's interesting because we're getting to a point where there's going to probably be some like ethical questions around
they're
robotics.
already here.
But I mean around robotics.
Oh, everywhere.
You know, in the same way that many of us feel quite empathetic towards like trees.
Yes.
And we feel empathetic towards animals.
Yes.
Now, trees haven't got a brain, but just cutting down a tree needlessly, I think would annoy a lot of people because it
would annoy me.
Yeah, it would annoy me too. And I think there's almost going to get to a point where, like, you know, people are going to start asking similar questions around
robots,
which is, it's an interesting question.
It is.
Let me ask you a final question then, which is, what is the most important thing we haven't talked about that we should have talked about as it relates to all of the work in these tangential subjects?
Oh, I can't answer that. That perhaps the most important thing is finding the trigger that would help you to take a step forward into faith, into the Christian faith. And I would just encourage you to keep asking your questions in the open way you've done. And I have regarded it an honor to have this discussion. And I hope very much it won't be the last one, but age may prevent that. But thank you very much.
We have a closing tradition where the last guest leaves a question for the next, not knowing who they're leaving it for. And the question that's left for you: in a world with so many challenges, what can we do to restore hope and trigger engagement?
give people a real basis for hope that transcends this world. And the only place I know where to find that is in Christ and in Christianity.
John, thank you. One of the most compelling arguments for God that you've presented and your way of seeing the world and being is not actually necessarily anything you've written in your books, or not necessarily anything you've said. It is actually you, and you have a certain peace and contentment that I rarely see in people that I interview, but I often see, and I've almost always seen in the Christians that I've interviewed. And this is a interesting phenomenon for me. I interviewed Wesley Huff recently. Do you know Wesley Huff?
Yes.
He was the same
Canadian.
as you. Yeah.
Wesley's a bright cookie.
Yeah, he was very much, he gave me the same feeling as you, just like feels like a really happy person, very sort of content, rounded,
There are many of us.
Yeah, but it seems to be a trend that, a lot of the Christian apologists that I've interviewed have that anchoring that so many of us are looking for.
There's a real sense of that. I sit in front of many people, and of course they often ask me questions I don't even understand, but in life, that peace is very important to me. And also what we started with. When I look at you, I see someone who's of infinite value, made in the image of God. And so what I say to you or think about you is hugely important to me. And I wish you well.
Thank you. I highly recommend, you've written so many books. I don't have all of them here, but I have a long list of them. But I highly recommend everybody goes and checks out your autobiography, which is your most recent works.
Yep.
It's called John Lennox. I'm going to link it below. It's a spiritual and intellectual autobiography that I think is highly fascinating to read because of how diverse your thinking and skill sets are. But also this wonderful, you wrote, if people are interested in the subject of AI, then I highly recommend.
Then they should read 2084.
I'll link 2084 below as well. That's okay. 2084, Artificial Intelligence and the Future of Humanity. And I highly recommend everybody goes and reads both books because you are a truly fascinating person with a very unique skill stack and experience stack and perspective. Fascinating. Thank you so much, John.
Oh, thank you.
YouTube have this new crazy algorithm where they know exactly what video you would like to watch next based on AI and all of your viewing behavior. And the algorithm says that this video is the perfect video for you. It's different for everybody looking right now. Check this video out, and I bet you might love it.